Hi guys, it's a nice moment, a wonderful time that you are here back again. I have missed you so much, but guess what? We are here with a very good and nice content, and we have a guest here. We will be talking here, we will just be discussing some things, and I believe at the end of the day it will be worth your time. So welcome back to my channel once again. If you are new here, please consider subscribing and even click the like button of our videos so that they can reach to as many people as possible. I love you so much and just love seeing you being back to our channel and coming here to get inspired. Otherwise, without much further stories, I'll just give our guest the opportunity to introduce himself and make us know who we have here today. So karibu sana.
Thank you. To our viewers, my name is Calvin. Mondi is my second name. Popularly known as the grandson to Sabina. It's a pleasure to be together with us as I share the story of my life. Briefly, in the hope that we can have a few take homes that can be able to push us through as we live life under the sun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. This is Calvin. Calvin is my friend. He's my birthday mate. Okay. And he's also from our land, and he's a left-handed. So we are friends, and we have been friends for a while. We met in JKUAT, and today he saw it good to just come here in our channel to speak to us. He's one person that I know that is always positive with things and life. Despite him laughing, it's not just about laughing. Najua watu wengi wanajua Calvin ni mtoto wa kucheka, but what if there is something that inspires his laughing? That is what we want to know today, and I believe at the end of today, maybe someone will get a reason also to start living a life of smiling and just being assured that everything is taken care of by God and they don't earn anything by worrying. So today we are going to speak about resilience. And Calvin is going to take us through this by sharing a number of things. And so for that reason, just welcome, take your seat, and let's start just this journey together. So Calvo, just for a start, when we speak of resilience, what comes into your mind as a person?
Awesome. In my own opinion, and based on the experiences that I have had for the past 24 years, I believe now. In my own words, what comes into my mind when I speak about resilience is what formerly we refer to as a comeback.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the bit of coming low and moving through high, coming against odds and emerging victorious, emerging a hero, emerging a winner. At least from based on the paths that you have walked, there can be steps that can be traced and that can be attributed to a position that you currently are in, a milestone that you have achieved, a distance that you have covered. So basically, resilience to me means a comeback.
It means a comeback, and just being sure that that is not it all.
Yes.
There is something more apart from that.
Absolutely.
And assuring yourself that it is through you that it can still come back in another different way.
Yes, true.
Okay, that is awesome. And again, after making us understand this, I want you to help us understand, even before we go through this journey, you as a person, do you think, or do you have an understanding if you as a person, you are resilient? Like if we are to rate you as a person, like you to rate yourself, do you think you can be rated as a resilient person?
Well, if given the opportunity to be able to rate myself on any rating scale, be it 5, be it 10, 50, 100, or even a million, and to the match that the rating scale can be capped, I think I would have my resilient scale at the maximum.
At the maximum.
So based on the based on the rating scale that has been there. If you want me to rate myself out of 5, definitely I would have my resilient rate capped at 5. If you rate, if you had me rate out of 10, definitely the maximum. So I would rate myself as far as you'd set.
I would set it. Oh, that gets interesting. So I want you, that is you rating yourself. Let us use the rate of 5.
Yeah.
So you have rated yourself as resilient to be 5. So I want you to take us through this journey. Maybe just, I know maybe as much as you can rate yourself that way, it shows you have things that when you look back, you see that, hey, I'm resilient. So I just want you to share with us at least a few scenarios that you can remember that can convince us that true, you can rate yourself that way, and from that we will get a step of maybe helping someone with the understanding that you as a person, you are speaking of something that you are capable of and you have overcome. So please just help us understand.
My story dates back to 2004 when I was 7 years old, and in the entire story, that's the list that I still have in memory.
Yeah.
To this extent, as a young boy in standard 1 in a certain primary school somewhere, I really didn't have the picture or the projected lineup, perhaps of you know of what the future really had. Or I would even say, you know, what others would ask you today, like, Calvin, Benta, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And so I lost that bit of where I would see myself. Of course, I was young, but I don't take it as an excuse to really fail, to account for perhaps where I see myself, where I would want to have myself be to that moment. But still, back to 2004, I had valid dreams, and I kept myself, you know, made afresh. I kept myself, you know, informed. I kept the knowledge renewed in me, and ever since I was young, I grew. I really wanted to be a pilot.
From class 1.
From Standard 1, that's back in 2004. But really, I really didn't have the picture of perhaps, you know, what does it take, what's the path, you know, that perhaps will lead me to become a pilot. But now that I was young, at 7 years, I just had to, you know, let it live by itself that I want to become. Of course, almost everybody that surrounded me, my peers also at least, had few ambitions.
Yeah.
And really knew what they wanted to become. Apparently, or fortunately, the situation was equal and similar to all of us.
Yeah.
We really didn't know that, you know, while others say they want to come this, they would want to live this kind of life, what really does it take them to be able to have it. The only bit where the situation gave us, you know, mileages, was the bit that most of us were really ambitious, and most of us really, you know, got themselves to know, I really want to become this, as much as they really did not know what it takes for them to become what they wanted to become. The kind of environments, in the manner in which they were brought up, primarily by their parents and their family situations, at least made it, you know, flavored, made it a little bit more relevant.
Easier,
and at least they had a grasp of what perhaps it take and what it would be like to finally fulfill their ambitions. Apparently, this was not my case in my situation. That aside, I was engaged, and it came to my mind the benefits of, you know, going to school. Well, when I was still young, and so I went through primary school, I went through high school, I went through university, and now here I am out of school. The story of my life is as simple as I am going to narrate about resilience. while I really failed to see the constructive importance of going to school, I still held on to it that I wanted to become a pilot. And so I was really not, it didn't bother me, it didn't disturb me that will I really become a pilot with this kind of, and I really didn't know, like, pilots read, pilots love education and stuff. That doesn't mean that I didn't love education. Of course, I moved to the university, and so that's a default assurance that
you tried.
I did try. Actually, I went for it, and I managed to get through the university, and I scored so well.
Okay, before you continue, I think there's something that you are not telling us well. You say that at some point you are not that serious with studies, and now you are saying that you managed to go to university. At what point did you realize that you really need to work hard?
Now, I was born in, part of my childhood brought up in Kisumu City, and I grew up. Of course, I attended one of the most prestigious primary schools in the city. It's named Arena Primary School.
Okay, sijaisikia.
Yeah, it's there, it's known. So I must admit that I didn't love Kiswahili. And so I really didn't love the fact that we were taught in class with the same teachers, and given the same notes, attended the same tuition sessions, but still I managed to be a failure in Kiswahili. So ever since I was young, I had a very bad vibe for Kiswahili. And so I also really didn't feel so comfortable with what I refer to as hard life, like ile maisha kukaziwa. I really hoped and wanted it to come free, like you have the freedom to do this and this. There's not that much pressure, and that wasn't the case because in my former primary school, people were on toes, and the mood and the atmosphere was that quick. There was no laziness, there was no sluggishness, and so we were meant to be there. As we go through school, we were to develop that attitude and the spirit of being go-getters. Like you really don't have to wait for it. Like you really have to be on your feet. You really have to be active. You really have to go run, through to get it. And so all of us had targets. And so while that was not my nature, I found it a bit of a challenge to be able to adapt to it. And so while I found it to be a bit of a challenge to be able to adapt to it, that was the onset of my downfalling. That was the onset of myself breaking away, like from the paths of education. As a matter of fact, my parents still insisted because in the 21st century, nearly everybody understands the value of education, and no one would really undermine. Even if you've got grandparents or parents who didn't go to school, at least they have a value. They know a value of education, but they really insist and instilling the children to be able to go through the same paths. And so that was the case for my parents. They kept pushing me so hard. They kept being on my neck. I really have to go to school and stuff. But unfortunately or interestingly, the more they continue to to force this in me, the more I felt that I didn't like it again.
They are not doing it right to you,
Apparently, my ambition to become a pilot, was still maintained. While I found it so hard to adapt to Swahili, while I found it so hard to go to school and and stuff, my ambition and vision was kept clear, and I kept reminding myself, it was clear in my conscience that this is really what I wanted to be in future. So at about class 3, after a whole 2 years of struggle, having being pushed to go to school, sometimes you are taught you don't understand, not that I was a slow learner, but
your purpose not to understand.
So then at times I could fail exams, I could be punished, and I really felt like it was not so interesting, so peaceful, and like I was not loving it. I was not loving it at all. And so while I was not loving it, it just came to me that I now never wanted to go to school.
Oh, yeah. At class 3?
At study 3.
Uh-huh.
And so that's when I began skiving classes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's when one of the most interesting events in school was when we were sent out because we didn't have tuition money. So it was better for me and very interesting for me to spend time at home than to spend time in school.
What were you doing at home?
At times, you know, I was just there, you know, chilling in the streets of town. And
so at class 3, serious?
Yes, and
mnaishi tao.
Yeah, tulikuwa naishi tao,
okay.
mini town stuff. So then I really didn't like it. You know, when my parents really forced me, like my dad would come from work and give me money, take this to school. And you know, when I really felt like taking me to school would retain me in school. And then I didn't want to be in school because of the pressure, the Swahili thing, and you know, the punishments in school. And then at times I could, you know, walk away with the monies that was given by my parents to go and pay. And so my objective was
so the money unafanyia nini at class 3?
No, I just got, you know, my friends, we go buy a few snacks and then so we actually had it. We had life. Apparently, some of those who I refer to as we had life, they were still going to school, and others, you know, were following on my footsteps. And so at that particular time, another component added into my life. And so this was money. And so once I realized the value for money, the beauty of having money, I think I shifted my attention now completely from school, to anything that would give me money, just anything that would give me money. And so while I tended, you know, to go and look for money, like to look for money meant, you know, I would sneak into my father's pocket when he was not there, and I would take some amount from there.
Okay, but he's out trying to get some money.
Yeah, I was trying to get some money just to have some money.
Una hustle.
Nilikuwa na hustle kwa baba yangu na kwa mama yangu back in the days. Anyway, they also lived to understand that life. In the year 2009, when I was in standard 6, I believe, when now it appeared to me so clear that schooling was becoming a bit of a challenge. While I had spent, you know, the last 6 or 5 years in schooling class, I was making it. In fact, I remember that there's an instant when I was in standard 6 that I wrote the best compositions ever, you know. And I was ilikuwa nasoma, but you know, the Kiswahili thing ilikuwa imekuwa tu hapo. So I had an outstanding performance, but the bit of your pressure, then your environment that you have to go get, I wasn't loving it. And so slowly being brought up in a metropolis, before I knew it, I had conceived the practice and adapted myself to the practice of not going to school. And so most of the times I could leave the house in the morning at 7 a.m.
with the uniform,
dressed in a school uniform, you know, with my bag at the back, you know, going to school. But hapo katikati between home and school, I would divert to other things. Okay. And at times I could
with uniform, or you had some spare clothes
with school uniform.
Okay.
And sometimes on the streets I would pretend that I was sick, you know. I would pretend that I was sent, you know, for some amount of money from school. And so like the objective was I really didn't want to go to school. So in June in the year 2009, when I was in standard 6, I happened to have, you know, met this friend of mine. We became friends later on because of what I'm yet to narrate. He was a Mkokoteni person, and so all he was doing was, you know, he was offering door-to-door water services to the estates in Kisumu, including the one that we were living in. And so he could come, you know, and then deliver water, and then he would be paid, go to the next, and so he was making money. Back to my issue with money, and so I felt
there is an hustle here,
that there's an interesting opportunity for also me to have money, like there's that pleasure that you can have if you're sure that I'm here, but then in my pocket there is something. And so before I knew it, I had actually joined him in that.
Okay.
And so I would help him.
Okay, how did you even reach out to him? Because you were young. And
I was young. For some instance, when I left home to go to school, I thought of some of my teachers. I thought of the learning environment. I thought of the punishment. I thought of Swahili language, and so I would divide ways hapo katikati. And so when I moved through the streets, and then the Wutani business at that time was all over, and children, youth, everyone is there. And so I got myself simply by just asking, one of the guys who was there, the one who used to deliver water to us. I helped him, to pull the mkokoteni, especially kwa mlima. And so we would do a few doors, and then he would give me 10 shillings, and then I would be proud because I had money. Yeah.
Okay.
So then before I knew it, nilikuwa nimezoea, like that was the lifestyle. Until the time that when
exams?
my
exams mlifanya your time.
I would actually do exams and perform so well, though I was not consistent in terms of my school practice.
Okay.
I would at times go to school, at times fail to go, at times go in the morning, sneak out, in the afternoon. And so I became a troublesome boy. And while I got myself into this mkokoteni water delivering business, I would in a day I would have 30 shillings in my pocket. Of course, I had that pleasure, I just love it.
You love money.
Yeah, I just loved money. So it became a little bit of a challenge to me. In the month of July, when finally my mom, got to know about this, and she was a real disciplinarian, and so she took it up to herself. Every morning, I would wake up. She would
class 6.
Yeah. She would help me dress up and everything, and then have my bag. Then the next step outside the door, I wouldn't be myself. We would be with her. I walk step by step, and she could escort me up to the gate of the school. And then
I hand over kwa mwalimu.
No, to the school watcher, because once you get in, you can't walk out unless you've got some documentation. So then she ensured that she took me to school like for consistent 2 months.
Your mother.
Every morning. And so that's how I forced myself to go back to school. But still, I didn't love it. I didn't love it. And when I didn't love it, I kept pushing myself. Of course, I was just there because I had parents. And so if I failed to draw the lines that they were drawing, then I would lack somewhere to go back to. But it wasn't. In 2010. When I was in standard 7, still in the same school, and I thought I was growing big enough, though in terms of height, I was close to 1 meter, and so I became still troublesome, in the streets, and normally part of my research has really indicated that those of us who are born in town setups and cities. You miss it, off the lines of education at a young age. You are most likely to advance in it, and so coming back will be a bit of a challenge. But here is my resilience journey to begin. In 2011, when I grew, and the more I grew, the more I got new friends, both good friends and bad friends. And so I got this clique of bad company who are into the scrap metal business, prominently referred to as the chokora. I saw that they were equally as young as I was, and they were into the business and not going to school. And so I became a tough young boy to deal with. And I would wake up, you know, from the house and prepare and to go to school, but then I would still divert ways. And
Mamaka aliacha kukupeleka.
Aliacha kunipeleka because I was stubborn. At times ningeamka nitoke kwa nyumba asubuhi, akienda bafu kuoga, no one was watching. She would come and find when I was off. And so until the neighborhood began spotting me in the streets, you know, picking up scrap metals.
So ulikuwa chokora?
Yeah, I was a chokora for some good time.